Hello, my friends. Katie Day here with the Moving to Texas team with another episode of the Real Advice podcast. I'm super excited for this week because we're going in a different direction. It's actually the same direction. A lot of people talk about this, but here with one of my good friends here in Houston, Texas, who is a real estate agent. He is a dad. He is a runner, a donut eater, content creator, brand genius. My friend Rusty Gates. What's going on, man?
What is up? That is a very gracious and generous introduction, and I will take it. Thank you very much. It's good to be here.
Well, when I think about the things that I think about when I think of you, it's all of those things, right? Like you're, a realtor, a husband, a father, a donut eater, and then in conversely a runner, right? Because you've kind of
Yeah,
got to do the two to balance them out. But
that's right.
anyways, so I'm excited to dig in with you just because like you have an interesting perspective kind of on real estate and on media and have kind of married the two in, your current career and how you adult and how you make money.
Yes,
So let's go back a few years. How did you get into real estate first?
absolutely. All of my answers could easily be an hour long, so we'll work on that not being the case. Long story short, I was coming from corporate executive search and was in a position where my salary was not really didn't matter whether I was crushing it or spending 5 hours a day on Reddit. And that was really frustrating to me. I wanted my efforts to be, I really wanted my salary, my paycheck to be
Yeah.
directly tied to the effort that I was putting forth. If I was going to really bust my ass, I wanted to see some kind of return on that. And a salary-based job, that just wasn't the case. And so I had reached out to a buddy and who was actually our realtor when we bought this house. And
Okay.
I asked him, hey, do you think I would be good at real estate or would I like it? Little did I know that 75% of his job at that time was recruiting agents to real estate. And so he was very much like, yeah, you would be great at real estate. You should
You'd be
definitely do
great. Yeah.
this. You would be so good at this. And I don't think that he was lying. I just later figured out that like, oh, well, I think you say this to all the girls. And but yeah, I got into it and found that I was good at it. He wasn't wrong. And I was found a lot of success in it. I won awards. That's a Rookie of the Year award there.
Hey,
And
I won a Rookie of
yeah,
the Year
big deal.
award
Well,
back
that's
in my
why we
day.
get along so much, I think.
Rookies. Yeah.
Uh, and and I loved it. And so that was how I got into it. It was a really fun way to make money, and then also very, I think, tangentially to what was driving me at the time is it gave me a seat at the entrepreneurial table
Yeah.
through getting into real estate, getting my license. Everyone was like, you're a business owner now, and I took that to heart. And I was like, okay, great, that's awesome. I want to be a business
Yeah.
owner, and yeah, that was the path in.
Well, and so, I know in the beginning when you first started, you did, the expired, you did the cold calls, you did the door knocking, you did the open houses, and kind of like, he started out at a large brokerage that touts those things in their training program, right? And this is how you get your
Yes.
business.
Yeah.
For those of you that have been through, exactly what I'm talking about. But
Mhm.
that didn't like resonate with you. Like you did it, you checked the boxes and all that. Like when was your shift to like, hey, I'm gonna create content and I'm gonna, use that to bridge the gap to my path, like to my sphere and to people I know and then people I don't know and like all that. Like what was the light bulb in your head for that?
Absolutely. Well, right. I did. I joined a big brokerage and they are very proud of their training. And their perspective is you can build your business however you want to build your business, but you probably don't know how to build a business. So do it this way. And that way, in my opinion, is about 10 years behind all the time. But I have a bit of an ego on me. And so and in a attempt to be humble and an attempt to not let my ego run it into the ground, I said, okay, well, I'll do those things to prove that I can and to prove that I will, right? That I'll do the hard work. I'll do the door knocking in the 105-degree temperature,
Welcome to
wearing
Texas.
slacks and a button-up t-shirt, which like the
A
heat
button up
wasn't the problem. It was the button-up t-shirt, which was the problem.
a t-shirt or like
Or
a
a
dress shirt?
button-up, I don't know, whatever they call them, button-up shirts. And I did those things to prove that I could. I got business from those things, but I hated every second of it. And I
Yeah.
really wasn't happy with the types of leads I was getting. I felt
Mhm.
like um, they were always leads that were like that started off playing on your heels, right? In the sense that you didn't have relational equity with those leads.
Mhm.
You maybe
Mhm.
convinced somebody to let you work for them, but to some degree, it always felt like they were already suspicious or they were already angry, especially you're doing like cold calling. It's like you wear them down, not like
Yeah.
they fall in love with you as their agent. And I want to be loved, damn it. So I just found that doing those things was uh, a really poor use of time. So if I spent 3 hours door knocking, I would do that. I'd get the cops called on me twice, and I might talk to one person for 5 minutes who just bought the house 3 months ago. Uh,
Yeah.
but even still, if we're doing that math, 5 minutes of attention. And then I realized that if I would spend that same 3 hours, even making one video, which you shouldn't be spending 3 hours to make one video, but
The
when you start
production
out,
quality
sometimes
better
that's how it
be
goes,
top notch.
right? I would spend 3 hours making one video. Let's say it's a 30-second video and it only got 100 views. The math on that equates to 50 minutes of attention versus the 5 minutes of attention. So even a poorly performing video was getting more, like 10 times more attention time than door knocking. And that was when I like figured that math out. I said, oh, we're done with this. Like, I'm not cold calling. I'm not door knocking. This is a bad return on investment. Because as a business, any business, realtors are no different in this. Attention is the name of the game, right?
Yeah.
Attention is the most valuable thing that you can get. And so that's why they say no press is bad, or like no press is bad press. Like
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
you want people talking about, you want to be top of mind. And so spending 3 hours to get 5 minutes of attention, that was just a really bad deal for me.
Yeah. No, I mean, and that makes sense, and I think that, um, I don't disagree with that, obviously, like, I put out a ton of content. I also think that the flip side of it is too, is, like, in putting out that content, if you can't actually then field the conversations, I think that's where a lot
Yes.
of people miss, right? Is they hear content creators and they hear people that are in real estate and content say that, and they're like, "Oh, well, I'm just gonna go make a bunch of videos." And it's like, "Okay, well, that's great, but if you don't have that basis of knowledge and how many times were you
Mhm.
script practicing and role playing and how many expired calls were you doing, and you're doing all these things to you know have that base of knowledge to then be able to positively help people and things like that.
Well, and I
Then
think that's that's a problem. That was a problem with realtors. That is the problem with realtors. And I can say this because I've been there. Uh, Even before the internet existed, is we are in an industry where we fluctuate hard. We shift hard between lead generation and actually doing our job, right? And that's how it, like, I remember when I started, they would talk about the same thing. This was before everybody was in like to videos and social media, but they're like, what's going to happen? You're going to spend 3 months lead generating, and you're going to, just because you don't have anything, you're hungry. You're like, you're cold calling. Who do you know who wants to buy or sell real estate? I'm having a competition who can give me the most leads today. And right. And then you get that business and then you get busy, right?
yep,
Like,
yep.
because real estate can be really time intensive. You've got contracts, you've got showings, you've got negotiations and inspections and appraisals, and you've got all of this stuff. And so you get a handful of clients, and all of a sudden that lead generation goes to the wayside. So I think your point is absolutely right that if you're only ever focusing on lead generation, whether that's video or cold calling or door knocking or whatever, or mailers or open
Yep,
houses or
yep.
whatever that is, um, and you don't know how to actually service the clients on the back end, you're always going to have a problem. And then
um
you'll have that wave that you're constantly riding.
I like to call it a roller coaster. I'm more impressed that you still remember your scripts.
I've got them.
You might be doing it in a joking manner, but like I can see you pick up the phone and just making those calls. So that kind of makes me laugh. So okay, in your current role, right? You sell some houses, you do some content. You have this media company, you have a real estate company. And you're
Mhm.
doing the things now, and so I think you have a very unique perspective, right? Especially on the content and the media, right? For real estate and then just other businesses in general.
Yeah.
So with that being said, if I am not shooting video and I'm not on social media today, and I know that it's something I need to do, what advice would you give me for me to
Mhm.
get started? Like one of the things you just said, don't spend 3 hours on a video.
Yeah.
right? So how do I like start doing it?
Well, I mean, one, I'm a big proponent of community and finding people who are already doing that. I think that it's really tempting on social media to look at the most successful people and try to reach out to them. I think that strategy is always going to kind of backfire because the most successful people are very busy. And it's not to say that someone like yourself wouldn't answer a question, but that one-on-one feedback that most people really want is going to be hard to get when you're like going to a celebrity. If you're like going to go to Glenda Baker, like I don't know that Glenda's going to answer you, and that's not Glenda's fault when she has 200 DMs a day of being like, "What camera do you use?"
She's like
And
Denver's camera.
yeah, right, yeah, exactly. And he goes like, and it's not relevant. But I do think finding community, finding agents who are already doing it, finding friends who are already doing it, and asking those questions. I think that's one way to get started, because then you can have some community, and then what you'll find out is that all of the things that you're feeling, the frustrations, the insecurities, the nerves, that's totally common, totally normal.
Yeah.
I think there are really great educational opportunities out there to plug your own event. The Real Estate Video Blueprint is arguably one of the best, if not the best, conference that I've ever been to, and it wasn't like a big one when I went last year, but it's still the value of having people who are doing it and doing it well. The word y'all kept saying last year is like, we're going to get tactical. And I remember being like, okay, we'll see about that. Being like, I already
Jackasses.
had a camera. I was already doing, that whole conference, the whole time, I was like, this is all great. This is all useful. This is all helpful. I just recently went to another conference that like was just like a rah, rah, rah. And it didn't like, I felt like, I was like, what are we doing here? This is a waste of time. But Real Estate Video Blueprint, excellent event. Find things like that, I think, are great opportunities. And then I think you can hire coaches and or producers slash videographers who can do that, which is where my company falls in. Rusty Gates Media, we work with a ton of agents, lenders. I've got probably 65-70% of my business is within the real estate industry, because that's obviously my background and I'm able to speak really
Yeah.
well to that. But you can pay me a bunch of money and I'll happily coach you and help you produce those videos and probably cut off 12 to 18 months of that learning curve. But that's not for everybody, right? I think if you're ready to jump in, you want to make that investment, great. But also, I think you can just start by trying stuff and experimenting and try getting after it.
Yeah. Well, and I think the thing that I always tell people, and I know we have a little bit of I wouldn't say disagreement, but like, we
Yep,
don't agree 100% on it,
that's fine.
is like I always say that like you need to start with your phone. You need to start making videos. So whether that's one to one where I'm just sending you a happy birthday Rusty message or hey,
Mhm.
happy donut Friday message,
Yep.
getting comfortable talking to a camera and looking into the lens as opposed to looking at yourself on the camera
Yeah.
and just doing stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
Because hiring you or hiring any videographer isn't cheap, right? And so if
Yes.
I am just 1,000% scared of even talking into the camera, I don't think it's a good use of time for me to go hire someone, right?
Mhm.
Until at least I've shot a couple of videos. And again, no one needs to see those butt Rusty when I send it to him on his birthday,
Mhm.
right? But just doing some stuff to get the reps in and start feeling like to not look over here when you should be looking over there or whatever it may
Mhm.
be.
Yeah.
Because also the other thing is like sending Glenda Baker a DM of what camera do you use. I don't think Glenda Baker's bought a camera because she hired a videographer, right?
Yeah.
She was shooting Facebook Live and Instagram Lives on her phone, and
Mhm.
then graduated from, and she still does them to this day, right? But then graduated from that to like high production quality, video. And I think there's still room for the Facebook Lives and Instagram Lives. There's still room for you shooting on your iPhone and having an editor edit it. Like, the bar has not yet been raised to where everyone has to have high production quality.
No, not at all. And I, even with that, I think that my business, I constantly recommend that people like what we do, the videos we make is anywhere from 30 to 50% of the content that you share. And the rest should be stuff that you're shooting on your
Yeah.
own. I think high production content, high production videos, adds a certain level of legitimacy to the rest of your videos, because it's like, hey, I can shoot really high quality videos,
Yeah.
but also I'm a person and I have a phone in my pocket and I can make videos all the time. I will say, when it comes to whether or not you should start with a videographer, one, you and we've discussed this. Like, I'm a little bit of a unicorn in the sense of I've got five plus years of real estate experience on my own.
Yeah.
And I'm an extreme extrovert and own a media company and cameras, right? So whereas most videographers get into this, they are introverts, they're creatives, they're not necessarily coaches, and they're not. So I'm a little bit special in that regard. So hire me. But I think the other thing too that I found
Hire
in
me because I'm
different,
special.
because I'm special, damn millennial, here I am. But I think the other thing is that I've seen in the difference of my clients is where you are in your business. If you have not gotten a deal yet, you have just got your license. My recommendation would not be to start by investing, $1,700 into videos. I would,
Yeah.
because right now you don't have as much capital, but you have more time. So use your time to work on your phone and figure it out. On the other hand, I have clients who are higher up in their organizations, or they are running a team of agents, and their time is very valuable. And in that sense, they have more money than they have time. And for those people, I'd say, hey, you might just want to hire somebody that can
Yeah.
do this for you. And that, like, we can't decide that for people. People have to discern what makes the most sense there.
Yeah. No, I would totally agree. I mean, I think that it's always like a case by case basis, right? Like it
Mhm.
depends is the answer, right? On like, should I hire a videographer? What should I
Always.
do?
Yeah.
But I think what we can agree on is sending someone out to buy a $3,000 camera and a $1,000 lens and a this and a that doesn't make sense. Because it's probably going to collect dust because they are really hard to use
They are
and learn,
extremely
and
hard to
it's
use.
just not a good
No,
use.
and
That's
I
I think we
I
can all agree
was a
that's not a
glutton
good
for
use of time.
punishment. Yeah, I was a glutton for punishment to say, like, I'm gonna figure this out. And but even still, my first camera with lens and body was, I think, $900 all in, and I
Yeah.
learned how to use that. And then in that process, I started a media company. So there are certain things that you need to have a working knowledge of, and we do coach around some of that. Like, we do some coaching around how to make really good videos with your phone and how to edit on your phone. Because again, I don't think that people can hire me for everything, nor should they. You have to be able to stand, like, this is a new baseline knowledge that kind of everyone has to have to some degree. And that's is what it is.
Yeah. So getting a little tactical,
Let's do it.
as far as apps for the phone, like if I am shooting stuff on my phone, so whether that's property videos, whether that's talking head type stuff, like whatever it may be, like what are some apps that you like for editing just quick stuff on
Mhm.
your cell phone?
My go-to is Splice.
Okay.
I think it's like $12.99 a month. It has a lot of the features in there. Most of the phone apps are a little rudimentary. They don't have all of the options, but that's the point. You don't by not having all of the options, they're easier to use. Sure, you
Yeah.
may not be able to do all the crazy things that you want to do, but I think Splice is great. I've used it for years and years. I've also used Adobe Rush. If you're already in the Adobe suite of
Yeah.
products, that can be helpful. InShot is another one that I know a lot of people really like, and InShot is really like meant for social media videos, so they've got some
Nice.
features
Yeah.
around that. So those are the three off the top of my head that I would probably go to if it were me. And all you really need to know, and this is your free tidbit for editing here, is you just really need to know how to trim the fat, right? If you can figure out how to do that, where it's you got 3 seconds of awkward dead silence on the front of your video, and you can chop that off, which you don't even need an app to do that. You can actually just do it in your photos section app of your phone. But cut that off. Any dead spaces where there's just long gaps of silence, you can cut that out and fix pacing. That alone, or misspeaks or that alone will make your videos 10 times better. And it's not hard to learn.
And so with captions, now the
Mhm,
captions app, the purple
mhm.
captions app on your phone, they actually will cut out dead space.
Wow. Here
So
we are.
that's been something that I've seen. I don't use it frequently because I normally just use Instagram native captions when I caption videos. But if I do use the captions app, it's pretty cool because you can cut out the dead space. And
Mhm.
so that's a lot of the apps are just getting smarter, right?
They
The
oh,
AI
well,
of editing is interesting.
totally. And I uploaded a reel yesterday for my podcast, Houston Made, and for the first time noticed the feature. It was like, hey, do you want us to improve the audio? Do you want us to clean up the audio of this video? I'd never seen that feature before.
Yes.
And I was like, yeah, what does this slider do? And it like fixed the audio. We recorded in a brewery with a bunch of background noise, bunch of
Yeah.
music, and just like that one slider does what usually takes me 5 minutes to do in Premiere Pro. So, which is great.
This
I
was in
don't
Adobe when you did this?
No, this was in Instagram. Instagram has a
Oh,
like, do you want to
Instagram has
clean
a,
up the audio feature now? And it will like boost the vocals, like the dialogue, like
yeah.
speaking voice, and kill the dead space around you. It's amazing. And I'm not worried about it at all of like running me out of business. I think that these tools need to be available
Yeah.
um, for everybody.
There's another tool for audio on videos that
Mhm.
I'm going to send you
Okay.
in Adobe. It's an Adobe
Oh, is it
thing.
the podcasting? I
Yes.
know what it is, and I know where you got it from because that person also told me
I got
and
it
was
from
like,
someone else as well, but we'll give my videographer credit
"We'll give
because
Andy your credit."
he
Because
did tell
I
me
mean,
about it, but I had heard about
he
it
he
from
was
someone
he
else.
was like, "Bro, you gotta watch this," and we did
Yeah.
like a whole. He like sat me down and showed me an example, which is
Oh, that's
amazing.
kind. That's kind. Anyways, um, but yeah, I think it's interesting. The other thing that I think is interesting tool about captions is when you upload a video to caption it, now it titles it. So depending on what you're saying in the video, it thinks about what you're saying, and then it gives you a title of like, you know, real estate content podcast update or something. You know, like that's the title. And you're like, oh,
Yeah.
geez, like that's actually what we talked about. So it's interesting to see how AI is impacting
Oh,
all these
yeah, it
industries.
is. Yeah, I mean, obviously, it's been technology. It's certainly been at an exponential pace, and I do feel certain level old at this point. Uh, but yeah, I think that it's going to make everybody better. But I just posted an article I read this morning to my stories that was talking about how AI will never be able to replace like thinking and strategy. And its whole point was, this goes back to like running your business thing, is I think there are going to be a lot of people who are really tempted to start playing with AI and look for automations in their business, which is absolutely great. But then they're going to spend 60-70% of their time playing with that stuff and learning that stuff because they feel like it's going to give them an edge instead of learning to like respond when your clients start asking for a listing fee reduction. In which, so I like in the article that I shared, basically said, I think 10% of your time should constantly be learning and playing with new exploratory technology and stuff, because that will trickle into your business.
Yeah.
And there's a certain, obviously, advantage to being an early adopter and yada, yada. But again, for most of us, you actually just need to do your business. Like you just need your
Yeah.
job and that's going to make you money.
One thing that Tom Ferry's been saying a lot lately this year is like you want to know what's working because like everyone always wants, you know, the silver
Mhm.
bullet or the magic, you know, whatever. You know what's working? Working. Like go get to work. You know, it's like, oh
Yeah.
yeah, oh, okay. Thought you
Yeah.
were gonna give me a top secret tip over here, but working. Wonderful.
Well,
Okay, great.
yeah. And how many people do it? It is crazy to me, when I started in real estate, I think the stats were, 90% of the agents wouldn't make it past 2 years. And I don't know if that has changed or
Still the
gotten
same.
better.
Still the same.
Yeah, it's always that. And it was always really interesting to me, the agents that made it versus didn't. I was a little surprised that I made it because there were people who started with me who I thought were better than me. Like I was like, you're better at sales, you're better at marketing, you're more organized, you're better at contracts, you're literally better at everything. And what I found that I had that they didn't is that I needed it. Right. When I jumped into real estate, I burned every bridge behind me and we took out a loan from retirement to live off of for 3 months. It was like, all right, we got to make this work. And then those people who were better than me usually either had full-time or part-time cushy jobs that like allowed them to do real estate, but they never like had to make it work. And I like that's just, I don't think that you can fake that.
Yeah. Well, so with that being said, if you were talking to a part-time agent today, right? You just said, you know, the burn the bridges, burn the boats moment, right?
Mhm.
What advice would you give to a part-time agent that wants to make the jump into full-time?
I would say, one, like like make that the goal, right? So there's a lot of ways to do that. One, lower your expenses. Like how quickly can you get to the point where you are supporting your life and your lifestyle with real estate?
Yeah.
One, obviously, if you sell a bunch of deals right away and you're just crushing it, and all of a sudden you're making $20,000, $30,000 a month, it's not hard to leave your job.
Yeah.
But if you get to that point very quickly, leave your job. It's a distraction. I'm at a point now where I'm having to like wrestle a little bit between real estate and the media company, because the media company is growing and it's thriving. And now when I have real estate clients come to me, I have to really think like, is this worth it? Like, and would I be able to give my full attention, or will I be tied? So I think try to be as focused as possible. I think on whatever it is that you want to do. So if you can make a bunch of money right away, great, do that, burn the bridges. If you can't, try to lower your expenses. Try to, just think through what it is that you want
Yeah.
and order your life around those things. And then I think just work, man. Do the work, and for me, yeah, that means make the video, do the cold calling, whatever lead generation looks like for you. I know when I started doing video work and getting away from all of the like lame lead generation methods, one of the things that I added into my business plan, and my like weekly, monthly, and quarterly goals was social events. And I don't mean hosting social events, because I know that you and your team, they do like y'all do a lot of that. But I literally had it as a part of my job description I had written for myself, was make this many videos a week, post this many stories, etc. But then it was also attend this many social functions a week, a month, a quarter. And that would mean like if my friends were having a birthday party, like go to the birthday party. If there was a
Yeah.
wedding I didn't want to go to the wedding, right? Because people are there and it's an opportunity to lead generate. So I
Yeah.
think figure out what it is that you're going to do to find leads,
Yeah.
because, and then do it, and be
Yeah.
consistent and show up until you see results.
Yeah. No, I think that that's huge, is that consistency, right? And so whether that is content, videos, door knocking, cold calls, expireds, doing it once and then never doing it again is never going to work. So
Mhm.
consistency is super key. I
Yeah,
appreciate that.
I remember my dad saying something when I first started out, and I was frustrated, and he was like, um, "How many agents do you know, like, who have been in the industry for 15 years and are still struggling the way you're struggling?" And I was like, "None." Like they either have bailed, right,
Yeah.
or they like figured it out and they're like making money. And he was like, so like these problems just won't matter in 15 years. Just have a 15-year perspective of like what it is that you want to do. And so if you're going to do this, when you pick that path, think about what it's going to take to do it for 15 years. You may not, obviously, here I am 5 years and
Yeah.
shifting industries, which I still is like, I got mass past 2 years, so like there's that. And it's different for me, like bailing because I couldn't make it work, versus I've created something else that I deeply love. But I think that plan is, if you are going to do something, commit to it for a year, right?
Yeah.
It is going to be really hard for you to see results in anything in 3 months, even 6 months. Like, you might, which is great. But I think even like with a fitness journey, with you mentioned my running, I'm on a running streak. Like I just want to run for the rest of my life. Whether I can keep my running streak alive that long, I don't know. But my goal isn't to be the fastest or to be um, to be able to run the farthest or whatever. My goal is just to keep running until I die. And so I just like the running streak was a really great way of like, I'm going to do this literally every day, for as long as I can.
But keep running until I die does sound a little morbid, because it sounds like you could potentially just be running until you literally die. So we might want to work on the verbiage there.
Yeah,
But
for sure. That's valid.
yeah, so that's my only critique of that, but I do appreciate seeing you're running each day. Anyways, so Rusty, if someone doesn't follow you on social, I think that they should, because you have a very interesting journey, and I think you put out a lot of good tips and tricks for agents, as far as content and branding. And what I also like is, like, since you work with a lot of different industries and people in your media company, like, it's not like you're just copying another realtor, right? You're seeing content across a myriad of industries. So I like that. So where can people find you, is where I'm getting to, if they want to follow you on the social media?
Absolutely. On Instagram, it's at Rusty J Gates, the letter J, RUSTYJGATES. And that's where you'll see, most of the media work stuff, all of the things that I'm created. I've got Houston Made podcast. We're on break right now, but season 4 will be releasing sometime later this year. And I have been actively working to get Katie on my podcast for probably a year now. And somehow I'm on this podcast
First,
before
see
you're
how
on
that
my
works. See how that
podcast.
works.
I
I
do
have
see
an
how that
office
works.
now, so we can do it now. So
There
whenever
you
you're ready
go.
to shoot,
Well, season 4.
I've got one mic, and you can bring the other mic,
That's
and
right.
we can shoot
We'll
it.
do it. So Houston
Yeah.
Made Podcast, you can find it on all podcast platforms, but also on Instagram at Houston Made Podcast. So I'm there. That's the primary way to follow me. I'm on Medium and some other stuff, but Instagram's the best place.
IG. Awesome, man. Well, I appreciate your time and insight. Always fun, talking about content and talking about real estate and all the things. So I appreciate you.
You're very welcome. And thank you for having me. I appreciate the opportunity to share.
Awesome, man.